Hi everybody, and welcome again to a second episode of Teach with Joy, the Parenting Edition. So today, we're going to talk about values. Ano ba yung mga values na importante that we should pass on to our children? And how do we pass it on? You know, the reality is, mahirap talaga mag-pass on ng values and teach our kids how to have good character traits if we're not practicing it ourselves. So today, with our special guests, Vince and Patricia Hizon, they're personal friends of mine. I'm super excited. We're going to interview them and talk about how do they pass on values to their kids and what are the values that are important for their family that we can also learn from. So let's get started. This is Teach with Joy, the Parenting Edition. So I'm super excited because I'm actually with my good friends, Vince and Patricia Hizon. So today, we're gonna talk about values. And I'm just gonna ask them a couple of questions like, ano yung culture nila? Like, what kind of values do they have in their family? So let's get started. What would you say are your priorities when it comes to the values that you guys wanna pass on to your kids?
I think overall, the most important for us is to raise kids who will love the Lord, who will seek to honor the Lord all the time. Because that's really the only way where they can learn about integrity, they can learn about kindness, they can learn about compassion, and so many other values.
It's very hard to pass on values that we ourselves are not applying, right? So have there been challenges in your own parenting journey where you feel like some things were a little bit harder to instill because you guys were struggling with those very same things?
Well, again, I've always sort of, ever since we've turned Christian, is the two rules that we have for our kids is just, obey and respect. Mm-hmm. If you follow those two rules, everything is great. But the second they start stepping over the line on either one of those, that's where we have some disciplinary issues to work out.
So we really had to model discipline. We had to model obedience because these were the most basic things that we wanted our children to really have. So it was really important for us to model what we wanted them to be disciplined about.
How do you appeal to each one when you're passing on values?
Well, I think I like to follow the way I was raised. I'm the youngest of 6 kids, and they always said my mother loved each one of us the best, right? So each one of us feel our mother's love like we're number one, but there's 5 others, but we don't feel like that. We don't feel like she's spreading the love or loving one more than the other. It's just you love each one the most differently. I mean, because of their different, ways that they deal with things, react to things.
And you have teenage sons, so that season comes with stuff. So what kind of things are you addressing now in your older boys, and how are you dealing with those things?
For me, for one of the children, he really struggled with self-confidence and having the ability to really believe in what he can do. And so to be able to do that, we exposed him to different types of crafts so that can actually come out. Appreciation for what God has given him as far as talents and abilities are concerned.
Did you ever in your parenting expect that your children should become just like you or follow in your footsteps, or how did you deal with that?
That's one thing I've always tried to steer away from. I've never tried to pressure them into playing, especially the sport I played, which is basketball. I mean, I just like my parents, we say whatever you want to do it with all your heart. Just like it says in the Bible, work as if you're not working for earthly masters, but for God. Whatever you want to do it, but do it the best you can, because you're not serving us, you're not working for us, you're working for Him. So in line with that, as far as sports goes, I never say you have to play basketball. Whatever they want to do, just do it your best, that's it.
So are there any other values that you feel are super important for other parents to realize and to know about?
Some of the things that I feel we've been consistent on since the beginning is compassion. And I think that's really an important value that we wanted to share with our children. At a young age, we exposed our kids to orphanages and doing all the outreaches with our foundations. But, I just felt that for them to be able to relate to people and feel people's pain will allow them to become better human beings. So that to me was very important. Kindness comes along with that. You can't really be compassionate if you're not kind. I think one thing that has been put a lot of emphasis on lately in these past years for us is integrity. They will learn integrity through the lives that we live in our homes and the persons and the lives that we project outside of it. So we hope to be able to teach that to the kids.
What about when your kids like mess up or you guys mess up? How do you make sure that your relationship is still okay so that you can continue to influence your kids to have the right values?
First of all, we ask our kids, we sit them down and we deliberately ask them, can you forgive us? At first we ask if there's anything that we've done that's hurt you, and we ask if you can forgive us, and we just try to see how can we improve. But we put our kids, we give them that, I guess you could say, little bit of power to really express themselves. And I think it's really good because there's so many things that sometimes they get affected by that we have no idea. And it really, stays with them.
That's so important because I think sometimes as parents we miss that part, right? We're so concerned about making sure our kids have the right values, but we forget that it's modeling first, as you guys shared, but also the relationship building part. That the kids need to make sure, we need to make sure that the kids feel close to us. So maybe as we close, maybe you can encourage the parents out there. We're still under quarantine, right? And people are really still stuck together at home, and it can be a really difficult situation. So how can you encourage parents out there to think of this season as something very positive, especially in relation to passing on values?
Sa akin actually, naging maganda yung lockdown. It's been an opportunity to really be able to not just get to know our children even more because they keep maturing, nag-iiba na rin yung mga pag-iisip nila, yung mga interests nila. So it's a blessing na mas nakikilala pa namin sila. But more than that, mas nagiging malaking influence pa kami sa buhay nila. Now we get to spend not just quality time, but quantity time.
So thank you, Vince and Patricia. I know that we've known each other for a long time, but I still learned so much from you guys today and things that I also can apply in my own parenting. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us. Great to see you, Joy.
So let's summarize lang what we learned from Patricia and Vince. So first, really, you cannot pass on values that you don't model yourself. And then secondly, importante talaga yung relationship. Because if our kids don't have a relationship with us, they really will not internalize the values that we're trying to pass on to them. And then thirdly, as they make mistakes or we make mistakes, we should be willing to really say sorry and ask for forgiveness so that we can heal whatever wounds we have afflicted in our children's lives when it comes to a bad example. And then of course, where do we get values? It has to be from the Word of God. Because as seasons change, as history progresses, there's always going to be different sources for what is truth, what is real, what is right. We always need to have a basis, and the basis is truly the Word of God. That's where we get the wisdom to really parent our children properly. So I want to share with you guys as we close this verse, James 3 verse 17. But the wisdom that comes from above is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. I hope you guys are greatly encouraged that all of us can do our part, be intentional about passing on the right values to our children. God bless you all, and remember, this is Teach with Joy, Season 2, the Parenting Edition.